Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 17 of Jacked Up Being Frank. I'm your host, Jackie Bonich, here with my co-host, Frank Aranio, and today we're going to go through some MLB predictions. This thing's 5 weeks to opening day, Mr. Aranio said, so 5 weeks to opening day. Spring training's getting going September 21st, whatever, 20th, if you guys watch. I'll watch, just see my team on the field again, but that's about it. That's coming up, so we'll get our predictions in there. Um, and then we'll get into some NBA. Knicks after All-Star break take on the Detroit Pistons tonight because I think it's the Knicks are heavy favorites in my opinion. I didn't look at it, but I think they're heavy favorites because of the fight that happened, the crazy fight between the Pistons and the Hornets. And why Jackie bring that up? Because people were suspended for a lot of games, and it really carried over till after the All-Star break. So the Pistons are losing their starting big man, starting All-Star, I think it was All-Star big man in Jalen Duren, and their backup big in Isaiah Stewart. So both bigs out for the Pistons tonight. We'll see what they can. We'll see if they can still beat the Knicks, which they've done without Jalen Duren. They beat the Knicks by 42 games in a row. We'll see. Knicks fully back, fully healthy. We'll see. So let's get into some baseball. Start with the National League. Let's get into the National League East. Let's get the biggest talking point in the National League, the New York Mets. You want me to take the lead on this, or do you
Yeah,
have?
Jack. I'm excited to talk baseball. It's
Yeah,
back. I mean, it's weather's, I guess, a little bit warmer around here. It's certainly not baseball weather, but 5 weeks from opening day, so it's exciting. Spring training games start tomorrow, so definitely excited for the season.
yeah, excited, and you know, Mets fans weren't excited in December, as they were in last December. When there was a lull in their offseason, I felt where they, you know, let go of Lonzo, let go of Diaz, and the Diaz one was really like shocking and really bring uproars for them because it was just the Dodgers just beat them and they put more money on the table and the Mets just backed off and they lost one of the best, probably some people can argue the best closer in the league. We'll definitely have arguments there. That's just a debate to have, but he's a pretty damn good closer, and the Mets lost him for nothing, and that's a luxury the Mets don't have anymore. They're bringing Devin Williams, but that All-Star closers is not there anymore for them. I mean, Devin Williams, you can argue, back then he's been a very good closer, but it's still a question mark there in the closing spot. So, and then you lose Pete Alonso, you lose the power. So all of that stuff equal together, and you trade Brandon Nimmo away from Marcus Semien, which I think is a good trade. But at the time, the Mets were just losing bats, and it's just really, as a fan base, we're like, oh damn, this team is gutted. But they lose out in Kyle Tucker, and we're like, okay, this team's actually gutted. We're not going to do anything this season. They go back and they throw a 3-year, um, 3-year mega contract to Bo Bichette, whatever mega contract is nowadays. I don't even know in baseball, but that seems to me like a mega contract to Bo Bichette. And they go out there, they trade for Robert, and they make the big splash to go get Freddie Peralta. Those 3 moves were huge in flipping the offseason. And, I do think they could have done more and they would have, could have, should have, but at least I feel like they got themselves on the mat and now they can be a pretty competitive baseball team going into 2026. And I don't think that was the goal. But at points in the offseason, the goalpost switched, and I hate to be the guy, but the goalpost switched, and the Mets are now a team that's very competitive in the National League. And especially with teams, the Phillies, losing steam from last year, not bringing a lot of people in, didn't really have the best offseason in the world. Mets are looking very firm in the National League East. Not like they're, but look like number 1, number 2 team in the National League East, and we'll see what the Braves can do. But I think this is the Mets' season to take an upgrade, take a step, and they have to, or something's going to happen. But, David Stearns did a great job of figuring out what was wrong, and I think it was the runners and scoring positions problem. The defense of the middle was definitely a problem at points. And they shorted up. Luis Robert is a very good defensive center fielder, and Marcus Semien and Lindor at your second base and shortstop, you feel pretty confident. Now, the part that I don't feel confident about is Jorge Polanco learning a new position, even though he's a great hitter, but he's a good solid bat. No, let's not say great. He's a good solid bat, especially he showed that in the playoffs last year. But he's never played first base, and that's a hard position to play. I know it's like, it doesn't seem hard, but that's a lot on your body. Playing first base is tough. And you might say, oh, Jack, he doesn't have a big wall to climb because Alonso replaced him at first base defensively. But he's gonna have to replace that. And again, Alonso is one of the best guys at scooping the ball. And he's gonna have to scoop the ball, especially with a third base. Bo Bichette learning a new possession. Saw some terrible clips in spring training, but not spring training in some workouts. So some terrible clips. But again, you got your corners learning new positions. So, but up the middle, the Mets have gotten better, and you're trying out the rookie Carson Bench out there in right, where you put Soto in left and or no, and you put Soto in left, Robert in the center, and at right you put Carson Bench, and you try at that rookie. So the Mets are looking up right now. They have a pretty solid baseball team, with especially better at pitching with Freddie Peralta at the head of the snake, and they got their ace. I think not they got their ace. We can argue about is he an ace or whatever. They got their horse, and I think that we were definitely, Mr. Rainer was definitely yelling, okay, the Mets the ace, the Mets the ace. They got a horse, and whatever you can say, oh, he's not an ace, he's not an ace, whatever. His sample size, what he did last year, showed that he has at least a horse and can at least give you innings. And that's what the Mets need last season. And that's why the bullpen got taxed. So I think that's the biggest thing. You gotta get pitchers that can go farther in innings. And the Mets got one of the pitchers that were available either via free agency and trade. One of the best out there, and it was Freddie Peralta. They go out there and they get him, and the pitching has improved. I mean, it's just not really starting pitching has improved. Not really, you couldn't anything would have improved from last season, but starting pitching improved. Good for the Mets. They got themselves off the mat, and I want to hear your opinion on what they could do this season. And I kind of danced around it, but I think they could be a pretty damn good playoff team.
The Mets definitely have the talent. I think in the division, I mean, they're going to be probably a 3-team race. I mean, you got Philly, you got Atlanta, but I mean, with the Mets roster, I mean, they should absolutely be a playoff team. If they don't make the playoffs this year, I mean, it's another disaster. I mean, you could argue an even bigger disaster than last year. I mean, look, they should be good. I mean, like you broke down the lineup, you broke down the rotation, adding Peralta.
The bullpen's still like a little bit iffy. I want to see it completely because I
don't even like talking bullpens much at this time of year.
Yeah,
you got to see what relievers have good years, have bad years. You think a bullpen's going to be good and it's not. You think a bullpen's not going to be so good and all of a sudden it is good. So like, I don't even think it's worth talking bullpens much.
Other than closer,
I think you got to see.
Yeah, other than closer,
you got to see how it unfolds early in the year because relievers and then bullpens collectively are just volatile year to year. But look, the Mets lineup is good. It could be very good. The rotation is solid. So like again, like they're a team that they have the talent, but they're in a division with two other teams that have the talent too.
Yeah.
There's going to be competition there. And then I just can't help but think about them being the Mets. And, I try not to focus on that too much. And I had been saying before last year's collapse, and last year, not only the collapse towards the end of the year, but they played poorly the last 3 months of the season. I had been saying that, well, the Mets are different now. They have a new owner. They have a new GM. They're building a different culture. Mendoza, seems like a good fit as manager. Like, these are not the same old Mets, but then they go and collapse like they did. And then it brings me back to, well, are they going to get beyond being the same old Mets? So, that's not very analytical, but, I think it's fair to bring that into the equation. Like, are the Mets going to get beyond that and maximize the talent that they have. You go back 2 years ago, they played great baseball, really, really good the last 4 months, got to the NLCS game 6, right? So you're feeling really good. Then you signed Soto. The year started very good last year, and then it unraveled. So again, like they should be good. I just instinctively don't trust them. They should make the playoffs, but it just always feels like something's going to go wrong there. Alonso not being on the team, like I don't think that could be underestimated. Think back to how upset Mets fans were, and rightfully so, that he wasn't re-signed. Like I think him not being there is going to hurt them. Because he was a huge part of that team. So like I don't think that loss should kind of be put to the side and say, you know what, well, they did make some moves after, they're talented, like they'll be able to get beyond losing Alonso, and they could get beyond it, but I think that's going to be tough.
I think it's going to be tough because when you have a guy, especially with a team that was, with runners in scoring position, like having issues, he had 126 RBIs, and losing that and losing the power. I didn't even get into power yet, but losing I think power is, people say power, but sometimes singles won't do it anymore. You get to a point where you just need one crack of the bat, and Alonso does it, but he also brung in runs. Like, you're going to lose that, and I know they try to replace it with Bo Bichette, but the biggest thing is I don't think anybody can replicate what Pete Alonso does power-wise on this roster. And that was the biggest thing. I mean, Polanco had a very good home run season last year, but nothing like Pete Alonso has ever done. But what Polanco did last year in a great year is Pete Alonso's down year home run rise. That's big. And Alonso's losing that power is huge. I think the Mets kind of did a swap for power for just speed and athleticism and just.
They're gonna miss his bat.
Yeah, they're gonna miss his bat, but I think they made the decision of just. But I don't think it's. Yeah, you're gonna miss his bat. I think they made the big decision between either Bo Bichette or Pete Alonso, and I don't think. I think they wanted to bring Pete back, but I just think the ownership just didn't feel like that he would pan well, and I don't believe that, but it is what it is, I think sometimes, you respect the heck out of players, but and you respect how much you'll lose, how much you'll feel when you lose them, but it feels like they made the Bichette Alonso kind of swap there.
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough without him in the middle of the order. And look, Bo Bichette's really good, but he's not Pete Alonso in terms of being a middle of the order threat. He's just not.
Well, yeah. Then
look, I mean, you look at Lindor, Soto, Bichette. I mean, that 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's as good as it gets. And again, like you look at the Mets roster, it is a talented roster. But is this all going to come together? Is Freddie Peralta going to be that legit ace? He can be. I don't think he's one of the top guys, but
I really expect you to bring that up. I think it's a good discussion point of what is Freddie Peralta really an ace. But my whole thought process was you're at least bringing a pitcher that is whatever top something in the league. Like he's on paper a great pitcher, and the Mets didn't have one, and a great pitcher that is reliable. When you play for the Brewers and on a team like that, you have to be reliable to be playing, and he was reliable and effective. And the Mets really need
he's really good. I just again, like he is a number one, he's an ace, but I don't think he's one of those top guys. So they got someone to be their number one, a legit number one, a legit ace. But let's see how he handles being an ace in New York for the Mets.
That's the big thing, I think. But I think they don't make the trade without thinking that he can handle New York. I mean, playing Milwaukee and then playing in New York. I mean, yes, I mean, Seattle was bumping, but New York's a different environment than Seattle. I mean, Seattle was bumping because they went to deep. They had a very good run last season, but they were bumping, but I don't think definitely not that New York's a different environment. Boba shit, Toronto's big. Toronto's big. So but yeah, Jorge Polanco had a great season last year for him. Is he going to replicate that? I don't think he's going to replicate that to exact point because, you know, it's a different environment than Seattle. Like bringing in all those new guys is great. Swapping out old for new is great, and I think it is the right move. But you got to give them the factor that they're coming from Milwaukee, Seattle, going to New York. Like that's huge. But I think it was the right move to get out those old those not old players.
Well, the Mets clearly needed changes to
Yeah,
the
they need to
roster, and
change,
they did
swap out.
that.
Yeah, but then you're bringing in new players from Seattle. But I think Bo Bichette is going to do very well. And Toronto's a big market, so you know, New York's. I think it might be New York's biggest, but
Yeah, I think it'll be
Toronto's.
really good for the Mets. Again, like the talent is there. There was quite a bit of change with the roster, but it is a good roster. Going to be in a competitive division. Again, I think it'll be a 3-team race. The Mets should absolutely get to the postseason. Like this roster they have, I mean, this needs to be a postseason team this year. And really, I mean, you can make the argument that it would be a big disappointment if they don't win the division.
Yeah,
I don't think the division can be easy. Like I kind of lean towards picking the Phillies again. I just instinctively trust the Phillies a bit more. Zach Wheeler, how he's going to come back is a huge factor. But again, like the Mets don't have a great roster, and nobody has the roster the Dodgers have. But I for the Mets this year, it's like you got to win 90 plus games. You have a 90 plus win roster. You need to be right in the thick of the division race. You could argue, it's you have to win the division. But they got to be a 90 plus win team.
yeah, they have to, and I think it's big after a season like that. Yeah, you're bringing in guys, and but I think the guys they bring in for a reason, that they're veteran players still that are just they think is more athletic, more veteran. Played in big stage. I mean, Boba Fett played in the biggest stage you could play in, and Jorge Polanco had some big hits. I think he had 2 home runs off of Tarek Skubal in the play. Like the Mets bring in players they think that can handle the bright lights, and the Milwaukee Brewers are always in the playoffs, so Freddie Peralta got his taste there, and they're bringing in guys for the long run for the playoffs. That's what can get you excited about this team. Is when they make the playoffs, they don't have a bunch of players that are just a ragtag group of guys that can make the playoffs. No, they have a team that can go deep in the playoffs. And I think they could have bring back Pete Alonso. I'm not saying Pete Alonso's not a good playoff player. He's a very, very, very good playoff player. But they had to bring in, to give up Pete Alonso. I think they did like a 2-for-1. Bring in a bunch of good players to give up on Alonso, and I don't think they wanted to hit the number he did, so they pivoted, and I think they made the best pivot you could probably make, and it sucks, but kind of is what it is at this point in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean Jorge Polanco, like I'm just looking at his stats again, 821 OPS last year, 26 home runs, 78 RBI. I mean, they have him projected as the cleanup hitter. Like, is that enough in the cleanup spot?
I don't know, but I think they think they have enough power from Soto this season. Like,
Lewis Robert Jr. or Luis Robert Jr. Like, what is he? What is he
he's
going to do?
I know he's a big. I think that when they bring him in, they need to bring. I know it's not like it's not what David Serge wanted to do, but I think they could have bring in another outfielder. Because Luis Robert Jr. could either be very good, could either be an 800 plus OPS player, have like 28 to 30 home runs. I mean, that's crazy to say, but it's been when he had that season a few years ago.
Well, I mean, with the Mets, you love the top three in the lineup. After that, like, there's question marks there. Like, 4 through 9 could be good, but I don't think it's a slam dunk. you're those top three guys. I mean, they're all going to have to perform to an elite level, which they're all capable of, and I think
Yeah,
they'll, as long as they stay healthy, like I think they'll either do that or come
Soto,
close to doing it.
Lindor,
But then I think
Bichette, yeah.
4 through 9, the Mets lineup, it could be good, but I don't think that's nearly a guarantee.
Yeah, I don't think it's nearly a guarantee. Because, I mean, Polanco had a great season last year for his standards. Could he do that again? I don't know. I mean, you would think that, he proved he had a great season, so maybe he's in a very good lineup with Alonso, with Lindor, with Soto. Not Alonso, whoa, with Bichette, with Lindor, with Soto. He could, have better, like, numbers and have, or at least the same numbers, but he was also in a great lineup too in Seattle. But it's all going to be about. I think it's going to be the biggest thing is they bring in the center fielder Luis Robert Jr. What are you going to get out of him? It's a big.
Oh, it's Robert.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know.
I forget.
I have no.
I mean, he had that one big year for the White
And then
Sox.
he was just the big thing when the Mets picked him up was like the narrative was he was disinterested. I mean, didn't really want to. He's playing for Chicago. Got hurt a lot. It really went down for him. But now he's on like this. I think we always hear the story where he's just like, he's on a terrible team, but then he just comes to a good team and he's very good. Again, but I just don't know if that's always going to happen. I don't. And that's my thing. I just don't know if that happens every single time. Like it's not a fairy tale. Like this life is not a fairy tale. It doesn't happen every single time like that. He could just stuck now. He could just be a terrible player now. Like he can just be that for the rest of his career. Doesn't matter which team you put him on. Like,
Yeah, again, the Mets
it's
are a talented team, but there are question marks. They're not a great team.
and it was question
No,
marks last
nobody's loaded like the Dodgers. Nobody has a pretty much flawless roster like the Dodgers. Like they're just at another level.
to give
But the
them.
Mets are one of several teams that is talented, has a good roster, but also does have question marks. And I
Yeah,
think
to
you can
give
kind of
them.
see them either having a very good season, winning their division, going deep in the playoffs. But then I could also see them having a disappointing season. Missing the playoffs would be an absolute disaster.
I think this is a big boomer bust team more than the last season where it was like what you're going to get every day. I mean, it really did fall off the wagon for the last season, but he was. These are all like what you're going to get from Brandon Nimmo every year. You know what you're going to get from Alonso. Like this year, it's a lot of just question marks. You could get a few free amazing guys, but you could get just straight, Mets are under 500. Like it's
I mean,
bigger.
under 500 would be an absolute disaster. Like I'm
No,
not
I mean
going to
it's
predict
that was a
that.
stretch, but I think more boomer bust. It's more this season than it was last season. Like especially with the character of Nimmo. I mean, he's a player that you know what you're gonna get out of, and I keep saying it over and over again. But kind of trading him is just trading like, the only. I feel like every single time you know what Nimmo was gonna give you, but you don't have that anymore. I mean, you could say Bo Bichette's play like that, but not like Nimmo was a great player, but you knew what he was going to do every single time up, and you knew what I mean. You know what he's going to do every year. Like the Mets are losing those guys, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you got to get rid of those guys that you know what you're going to get every year, and it may not be, a superstar player.
Well, the argument for change is just look at the Mets season last year. Like you have a season
Yeah,
like that, those last 3 months, and then the collapse at the end. And really, like you could argue the last 3 months were just a extended collapse. You need change. Like it's good that they made changes.
I just
Alonzo's
yeah.
the one change that
Well,
I
Alonso and
personally
Diaz.
object to, but I thought he was leaving. Like the prior offseason, I thought that he would re-sign with the Mets, and he did. It did take a while, but I thought he would. Going into this offseason, I didn't think he'd be back with the Mets. I thought that there would be that parting of ways. And, but again, like the Mets making significant changes, what they did does make sense. Like they needed significant changes because you just look at the results that you got last year.
Yeah, you got results that really fell off the map. Were great for a while, but really ran its course, I feel like, and teams started to catch on. I mean, that could be another team started to catch on to what you're building, and you want to build a more like hard to game plan around group. And the Mets bring in a bunch of guys from different skill sets, and that also can just put the ball in play. And that's really hard to game plan around. Player like Bichette, player like, you know, like players like that, Bichette, it's hard to really game plan around it. You bring in the potential big bad Robert that could just be like you bring in different people, and I think the Mets just ran into the big thing I'm trying to say is the Mets just had too many repetitive pieces in the batting order, and now I feel like there's more diversity in the batting. I think there's more diversity baseball player uh, hitting the ball, playing baseball than they were last year. They're way more diverse with the skill sets hitting wise. And that's the biggest thing. I think that the Mets were trying to be like, okay, we were game planning against pretty well last season, and maybe it was a skill set, but also they were game planned to against really well, and people figured out the team, even though it was very good, they're easy to figure out. This season, they bring in a bunch of guys with different skill sets, um, and I think that's huge. That's what they were trying to do.
So the Mets over under win total is 89.5. What do you think?
So you said 90. They should win 90. That's a 85.5. I think
89.5.
89.5.
Yeah.
I think they could hit the over there. I'm not very confident. I'd say 91 wins, but I hate that I keep saying this. They go over, but I think they're gonna go over by one game. I think they win 91 games. Um, yeah, I mean, this is a very very good baseball team, and I think at least if the Mets don't fall off the wagon that last season, they're a very good baseball team, and let's just hope this team doesn't fall off the wagon. Um,
Yeah, that's a tough over under. I mean, that's one I don't gamble, but if you're a gambler, I would stay away from. That's a tough one. Like I think they should go over 89.5 and win 90 plus. I'm just not confident that they're gonna. So if I had to go either way, I would go slightly under. And that should still be enough for the playoffs. I mean, they win 87, 88 games,
it's just
89
got to
would
get
be.
in with a team like that. With the players you bring in, with Bichette, with Polanco, you just got to get in. I feel like with their playoff experience and Freddie Peralta, they could make a big time run. And I don't want to be like the team the first season match where they were like, oh, where they won games, like they won crazy games. They shouldn't do that. That's different. But just get them in, they'll make the run. Not because they have this crazy magic. No, it's because they're a very skilled baseball team. Not the Mets back then were.
Yeah.
Not the Mets a few years ago. We're not a very skilled baseball team. They were a skilled baseball team. But this one's a different way. This one is you gotta get them in, and they're skilled enough that teams come in and take them seriously. I don't think the Phillies were taking the Mets seriously. If they were, obviously they want to win, but not as seriously as this year.
Yeah. It just my calculation is just it's a 3-team race in the East. The teams are pretty close, actually very close to one another. Like you could pick any of the three, and I just don't trust the Mets, and I can't get beyond that. And like I think I'm going to pick them to make the playoffs. I mean, you go through the teams in the NL. I mean, you should get 3 from the East, and then like I don't count out the Brewers. Like Brewers every year is like, oh, like this is going to be the year they have a down year, and they're still good. Like I expect them to be good. Will they make the playoffs? I don't know, but I think they'll contend. I think they'll contend for the division. The Cubs are good, so you got those two teams. And then in the West, obviously the Dodgers, Padres. I mean, they might take a step back this year. There's nobody else in the West that I consider a factor. The Giants are just mediocre. They didn't do enough. And so the Mets should make it, but I could see a scenario where they don't. Because if you have Atlanta, Philly, Milwaukee, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Diego, the Mets could be left out. But like right now, like thinking about it, and we'll make our final picks before the season as we get closer to opening day. But right now, I kind of think like Mets are a playoff team, but just with those other teams in the NL East, like I just trust those teams more. Like those teams have more pedigree. Those the Phillies have been good for a while now. The Braves have been good. Braves had a down year last year. I expected to bounce back big this year. Those teams have more pedigree. Like I just trust those teams more. So for the Mets, like I would go under 89.5, but I'm saying, not too far under, like 87, 88 wins, and that should be enough to be a wild card.
I'm predicting the Braves flip their season they had last season. They flip it. They go 86 and 76, and I feel like the Mets go have 91 wins, and the Phillies have like 95. That's my prediction for
Yeah, the
the.
Phillies, we got to see what Wheeler. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you gotta see
and
this.
that's it. Like,
They didn't do enough this offseason. We'll see.
yeah, they lost Ranger Suarez is with the Red Sox now, which is a
They had Bo Bichette
very
by the
good pickup for
claws.
the Red Sox. Who the Red Sox have a really good rotation, or potentially could. But losing Suarez hurts. They didn't get Bo Bichette.
Yeah,
I mean, their lineup is
but
still very good. They still have their big guys. They
they got
got
Bo Bichette,
Schwarber
but yeah,
back. If Zach Wheeler comes back really strong, then I'll be high in the Phillies.
yeah. The Phillies are just a team that has their core, and I feel like it's ran its course, but it is what it is. They're going to run it back for another season. We'll see what they can do, and they're going to run it back. They're probably be the top of the National League East, so they're doing a good thing, but they have to get over that hump. And with the Mets and the Braves in the way, I feel like they're going to run the same problem where they either can't beat the Mets, they can't beat, or they're going to really fall into the Braves. And I
Yeah, I
don't
can
know. I
see the
just feel
Braves
like they're
bouncing back
running what?
in a big way. I can see the Braves bouncing back in a big way.
Yeah, I just feel like the Phillies are running themselves over and over again, the same track. The Phillies are running this same thing over and over again. Well, I mean, I give a credit to the Mets actually of really tearing down a core where the Phillies haven't done that. I mean, they really have a choice to do that. The Mets missed the playoffs, to be fair, but the Mets did a good job of, you know, sometimes just can't tearing down the core sometimes is what you have to do. And the Phillies keep running this thing back, and I just feel like they're gonna hit a wall.
Yeah, I mean the Phillies rotation is very dicey. That's a problem. Wheeler's not going to be ready for opening day. He's not expected to. I mean, you got Christopher Sanchez. He's a good left-handed pitcher, but he's top of the rotation now. Like he's not a top of the rotation guy. Jesus Luzardo, Aaron Nola is so up and down. When he's good, he's very good. Taiwan Walker, I mean, I see him ESPN, like or MLB actually.com. I mean, Taiwan Walker's going to be in the rotation. Like that guy's not good. So Andrew Painter, I mean, I don't even know anything about him, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm just looking up his stats, but and again, that's the projected rotation that MLB.com has. So the rotation is very shaky right now, and that's being kind. So, again, like they're going to need Wheeler to get back and get back early in the year and be that lockdown ace that he's been. If he does that, then I think they're in good shape. But if not, they're going to have a tough year.
yeah. I think it all comes down to that Wheeler thing. I think the Phillies are a very good team, but they feel like they run this wall. But the way they can get over the hump is they got to get that pitching right, and they don't have it right now. But we'll see as the season goes on. Um, about that pitching.
Yeah, and again, like these three teams in the NL East, like it's tough. I'm not even sure exactly where I'm going to go with it. Again, we'll finalize our picks before opening day, but you can make a case for any of the three. But there's question marks with all three. They're good teams.
Well, yeah, there's question marks. So you're running the
They
other team in the NL that doesn't have question marks, and I feel like these three teams are going to run themselves into the Dodgers. But yeah,
Yeah, and then the rest of the division, like the Marlins, I don't really have anything to say about the Marlins. They'll stink, so that's fine. Nationals will stink again. So whatever with those teams. Um, so then the
that's
National
fine.
League Central. Um, the Cubs are the favorite. Again with the Brewers, they lose Peralta. So that's a big loss for them, but they're going to be there. They've been there for a
Yeah,
while. They've been good just about every year for what, like 8 years. Been in the playoffs like seven
yeah,
out of
they
8.
find a way to find the method of getting in the playoffs
Yeah, like
every time.
I just expect them to be there. I do. I think they kind of earned that. I wouldn't pick them to win 97 games like they did last year. Um, but I think it makes sense to be high in the Brewers. Like they figure it out. They make it work.
Yeah, they do.
Um, the Reds. The Reds were the third wild card last year. Got blasted by the Dodgers. You know, I don't know. Like they'll be maybe in the mix for a wild card again.
Yeah, just
St. Louis. They're probably gonna have another down year.
these teams just don't spend money. That's all it is.
The Pirates are a team that could make big strides this year.
Yeah, I mean they have
They
this.
got. Their pitching is really good.
Can never bat well, but
Yeah, they got. I'm just going to their roster. For them, like to sign Ryan O'Hearn. They spent a little bit of money on him.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
with their pitching, with Skeens, obviously, he's absolutely dynamite. I think you got to consider him the best pitcher in baseball.
yeah,
School is excellent. Garrett Crochet is excellent. But I think Skeens is the best in baseball. He's just dynamite. Um, they have potentially a really good rotation.
yeah. Bringing in Ryan O'Hearn, he's a good first baseman for them. Definitely at
they
times.
made a nice signing, Jose Urquidy from the Astros. Like he's a solid guy in the rotation. Um, they got Mitch Keller. They got this Bubba Chandler, top prospect.
Yeah,
It's like if you have a very good pitching staff, like you're going to be competitive.
yeah. They have a good pitching staff, but I think they've never been able to figure out the hitting. So we'll see what they can do this season. I mean, yeah, Ryan O'Hearn last year. He's a pretty good ball player. He's just. I definitely was looking at him for the Mets to go get for a second. I was looking at the Mets to get everybody, but when they lost Alonso to get another first baseman, yeah, he's a pretty good ball player. Hits the ball well, and definitely after the Mets were losing Alonso, I definitely looked at other first baseman options. He was up there. Very solid hitting bat, and the Pirates need that, especially with their pitching. Their batting doesn't need to be perfect to make the playoffs. Just it has to be good enough, and they have a good enough lineup that I think.
And they're in a division to be competitive. Like you do have the Cubs and the Brewers. They're good, not great. The Reds are okay. Cardinals are
Yeah, I think if the Brewers, I think that we like to give them benefit of the doubt here. If they take the step down, I think it's just a perfect opportunity for the Pirates to take that step up. Especially if they, I think they're gonna take a step up anyway, but especially if the Brewers take a step down, the Pirates could definitely be in a place where they could, take that step up, pushing everything up for that division.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think they're a playoff team. I mean, again, I think three are coming out of the East. I think you're getting two out of the Central. Um, I don't know. I mean, are you getting three out of the East? Maybe not. I kind of. My first thought was like three out of the East, but you know what? You could get two out of the East, two out of the Central, two out of the West. Um, but I don't think you're getting three out of the Central again. You got three out of the Central last year, really, because the Mets collapsed. Like Cincinnati had no business being a playoff team.
Yeah.
Like they overachieved last year. And Terry Francona, who to me is the best manager in baseball, he got the most out of that team. But they were fortunate the Mets just couldn't get out of their own way. I don't think you're getting three out of the Central again.
No. You only got one in the National League. I mean, and out of the East.
Yeah, I mean, like the only way you get, yeah, I just don't think it's happening out of the Central.
I don't know if they make that jump up from 1 to 3 is crazy in the National East. I think that you're kind of right. I think it seems to be a fight between the Braves and the Mets to make that second spot. We'll talk about that later, but I don't know. To make that jump up from 1 to 3, I guess the Braves are really going to take a step up, but only getting one playoff team last year to getting three this year. I think that's a division that we'll definitely hit in a few weeks. Definitely talk about more.
Yeah, again, like instinctively, I just think that division should get three, but it really isn't guaranteed. And any of those three teams, things could not work out for them. Because they do have question marks. Like the Mets should make the playoffs. I wouldn't be totally shocked if they missed. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if the Phillies and Braves missed the playoffs. Like, the Braves had a down year last year. I expect them to bounce back big this year. But we got to see. The Phillies, that rotation is very shaky to start the year. I could see them having a down year. Like, I don't think they will, but they can.
Yeah.
And then the NL West, I mean, the Dodgers, I mean, just absolutely loaded. I mean, it's going to be really tough to not pick them to get to the World Series and to win the World Series. I mean, they're like so good. Things happen. You can lose in the playoffs. I mean, they came really close to losing last year. But they're even better this year than they were last year, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and we hit everything we can on the National League. We'll talk about it later about that league. We'll get to the AL. You want to get to the AL today?
Yeah.
The American League. We start with the New York Yankees. They bring back Cody Bellinger. They just I don't think they did enough. Again, they do this every single season. They're owned. They're owned cheap, not cheaply. That's actually they didn't throw any cheap contract at all, Cody Bellinger. But they're
Not
owned.
cheap. They just don't spend the way they
They
used.
don't spend that much anymore. No one's cheap in the MLB.
Well, I think there are teams you could say, relative to the other teams are cheap, but I think the Yankees aren't cheap. They
The
they just
Yankees aren't cheap. They just should spend more than they already are spending. Um, yeah, I think they have the opportunity to spend more. They just don't, and they're in a spot where there's going to be again. They're gonna be a very good team again, but they're not gonna. They're like another. They made that World Series run with Juan Soto because I feel like they just need another guy on this team. Like Cody Bellinger's good, but they need that guy next to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, I feel like is just doing it alone as a lone like superstar on the team or lone like you know lone like real star. And you think are they getting Garrett Cole back in that lineup? I mean that rotation.
Cole,
Yeah.
he's coming back at some point.
Some boys come back, got freed. Team's good. It's a very solid team, but it's just it's definitely understand frustrations from Yankees fans. Don't care about him. Couldn't care less. But
Well, it's because they're used to being elite. They're used to dynasties. I mean, it's been a while now.
But they're a very solid baseball team. But I understand where it's just like, damn, like I want to break through at one point. But they did it with Soto, and they didn't really get it over the hump there. But they they're going to be a very solid baseball team for a long time. That's what they're doing now with their money. They're not going to be like, oh, we have this money, so let's spend it on a superstar team. We have this money, so let's make ourselves a solid team every year. Let's put a product on the field that's at least solid.
And yeah, they're good. I mean, they're arguably as good as anybody in the American League. But the problem Yankees fans have is they want them to be
separate,
in the elite. Yeah. They want them to be the best. But right now in baseball, they want them to be in the same class as the Dodgers, and nobody is. So, I think Yankee fans are right to have those expectations. Like they expect to be elite. They expect to, be at the top of the sport every single year. But they're that next tier of team. It's just you got a tier with one team in it. So like the Yankees go into the season as one of a handful of teams in the American League that I think are very comparable. Like I think the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, like I think that's going to be
like what they want is they want separation from those teams. They're not
right, and they don't have that separation.
Yeah, so they don't have that.
They're in a class in the American League with Toronto, with Boston.
Well, they have a shot. They have a shot. They have a big time shot to make it out there, but they want a separation. But they got a shot here, and
their rotation could be really good. I mean, if Cole, they say he's expected back in May or June. Got to see how he comes back, but their rotation is set up to be really good. Carlos Rodon's not starting the season on the active list. I mean, he's recovering from left elbow surgery, so he's expected back late April, early May. But if Rodon and Cole, come back strong, got Max Fried, you got Schlittler, Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, Luis Heel.
Yeah,
I mean, look, they got depth there too. Like they line up to be a really good rotation, one of the best in baseball. So you got that, you're going to be good.
Yeah,
and there's thumpers in the lineup. I mean, the lineup's good.
They got the thumper in the lineup. They got the thumper, but
yeah, they got the thumper, and then you got big time power bat and Stanton. You got to keep him healthy. You got Ben Rice who could swing it. They get Bellinger back. We'll see what Grisham does if he can repeat things this year.
Yeah,
Jazz Chisholm Jr. I mean, he's a good ball player.
Yeah,
He's for power. He's athletic. Like he's a versatile, dynamic baseball player. Like
he'll steal bags for them. He'll get like especially a players like Stan who really aren't the fast in the world. You have a guy like Chisholm that can really do a lot in the field if it is hitting bombs like Stan does. Not at the same level, of course, but also stealing bags and he can do a lot of stuff. He's gonna be their big time factor there. They got Ben Rice, as you say. They got a very good team. They got a very balanced lineup, and the Yankees want more than just a balanced lineup, but they have a balanced lineup there, and their biggest two stars in that lineup is Cody Bellinger and Aaron Judge. Can Cody Bellinger repeat things? I think he's a very solid guy now. I think he's found his way, and he found his ground where he's going to be a guy that just can hit like 250, can drive in about 30 homers. Like I think that he's found his kind of niche in the league, what he's going to do. Like it's 272, going to drive in at least 30 homers. Going to get close to about a 90 over RBIs. Like he's found his the Yankees fans gotta believe he's found his. He's gonna be a good player, but not a great player. But he's gonna give you enough, and in that order.
Yeah,
And
I expected to be good again.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, the Yankees, to me, you could count them in for at least 90 wins. Their
Yeah.
over-under's 91.5. I tend to give the Yankees the benefit of the doubt, at least in the regular season. So again, like I think you could lock them in for at least 90. Last year they won 94. I think they'll be similar to last year. It'll be low 90s in terms of win total. I think the division is going to be really close. I think Toronto will be there. I think the Red Sox are going to be there.
Yeah, that's a very decent division there.
And the Orioles might be there too. Like I don't know how much the Orioles are going to bounce back, but I think there is potential there with that roster. I mean, we talked about how they got Alonso.
Yeah. We kind of brushed, but
their lineup has young guys that can really hit and really play.
Yeah, I mean, the few years ago they were really good, but yeah, they kind of had that drop off now. But
yeah, they're an intriguing team. They're a team I could see like having a mediocre year, but I could also see them bouncing back very strong. But it's tough in that division, though. I mean, I would put New York, Boston, Toronto ahead of them, but I would not be surprised if Baltimore finishes above the top four. Like I do think that's possible.
Yeah, it's just someone would have the drop, and I don't know. That's I think when we do our predictions, that will definitely come up. That the American League East, that is the division in the American League, the only division that kind of is very good. We'll see, but that's the division in my opinion, the American League. It's not really a good league in general, but
yeah, the National League's clearly better.
Yeah,
the East is the best division in the American League. That's definitely the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's also a tricky one to call too. I feel like if we're in, I think the Yankees lead the division this year.
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I'm looking at the Blue Jays lineup. Just
I want to bring that
refresher
up
there.
Because they lost Bichette, I know.
Yeah, they lost Bichette, but look, they were out. They were without him for a lot of last year.
Yeah. They beat the Yankees without him. So
yeah, I mean, he didn't come back to the World Series.
You still got.
So they still have a very good lineup. I mean, you have Vlad Jr., who's just out of this world. George Springer, Addison Barger, Kirk, Varsho Lukes. It's
you got Vladimir Guerrero.
It's a good lineup. Really a very good lineup. Like I expected them to have a very good lineup again. I expect them to produce a lot of runs. They added Dylan Cease to the rotation, so you got Cease, Gosman, and Trey Yusavage, who was incredible in the postseason. And then Barrios, we'll see how he bounces back this year. But they're going to be good again. Like it's a tough division to call. I think the Red Sox are going to be good. I think the Red Sox could be very good. I mean, the rotation's loaded. The lineup, they need another big bat to be a really good lineup. Like the lineup,
the Red Sox,
good,
yeah,
but there's definitely questions in it.
Well, the Red Sox, I feel like we're in on Alonso for a little bit. They're never really gonna get him. I don't feel like.
I never thought they would pay him.
Yeah.
And like I said before, like it's not worth talking bullpens too much, but I think the Red Sox bullpen will be good. We'll see what Chapman does this year. Like, is he going to be as good as he was last year? Because last year he was just phenomenal. But the Red Sox pitching staff, their rotation and bullpen, their whole staff, I mean, they got one of the best in baseball. Or it should be one of the best in baseball.
Yeah, they have a very solid young squad. I think they have a very solid young squad. And that's enough in the American League. I think we talk about all this. Oh, they have questions. Yes, but that's enough in the American League. They have enough in the American League, in my opinion, to do what they need to make the playoffs. And I think they will. But I think they'll make the playoffs and they'll win a bunch of games. They have enough to win a bunch of games in the American League.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a playoff team.
They have a very good young squad
If
with
Boston, Toronto, or the Yankees didn't make the playoffs, it'd be a disaster for any of those three.
yeah.
But I expect all three of them to be there. Like the American League East could be a 4 playoff team division.
Yeah. I mean, everybody else just, is what I mean. Seattle, talk about them a little bit. They lose. We keep talking. They lose. Everybody just loses people to the Mets, and everybody gains people from the Mets. This especially this offseason, they lose Jorge Polanco, but it's a team that has the thumper in Cal Raleigh, and they're a solid group. That they won a lot of games last season. They had a very good playoff run, but
They'll be good again.
They'll be good again, and yeah, they'll be good again. They got guys, and they'll be good enough for the American League. And I think with the players they have, the stars they have, and Rodriguez and Morale, it'll do enough for them to get them in. And I think they'll make a run again. I feel
They're
like.
their division's favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you probably get one out of the Central. It's probably gonna be Detroit. That division's down. Might get 2 out of the West, 3 out of the East. But again, like I think it's a possibility the East gets 4.
Yeah, talking about this. This league is. Yeah. The more you're talking about this, the more you're talking about the other teams. Maybe Baltimore does sneak in. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because, like, everybody else is just like, except Seattle. Seattle's good. But, yeah.
Houston seems to be in the downslide. You can't count them out. They'll be in the mix. I think Seattle will win their division, but Houston will be in the mix. I mean, Houston's definitely in the mix for a playoff spot. See if Texas bounces back. So there's several teams that are just okay in the American League.
Yeah, there's several teams that are okay, and this is a hard division to talk about.
I think there's 4 teams that are pretty much in the same class at the top of the league. New York, Boston, Toronto, and Seattle.
Yeah.
If you want to put Detroit in there.
Yeah, I was going to say Detroit. They win a division. Yeah, they'll win a division, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of have them a bit below those other 4.
Yeah, we kind of hit everything in the American League. I mean, we'll definitely talk more extensively when we get spring training.
Yeah, that was a good start with baseball.
Yeah,
I mean, we covered a
was a
lot
good
there,
start.
and then we'll get more extensive with it, and then we'll make our picks. We kind of threw out picks today, but we'll make our final picks before opening day as we get closer to opening day.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about basketball just for a few minutes. We'll get into some NBA, not basketball. Get into some NBA. Yeah, I think that the All-Star break is over. The Knicks have a very tough road ahead of them. They have a very tough schedule. They have a very tough schedule. If I want to read it out, they got the Pistons, the Rockets, they got the Bulls, and they got the Cavs, and they got the Bucks with Giannis back. I think that he's back. No, he's actually out with a calf injury. Okay. And they got the Spurs, and they got the Raptors, and they got Thunder. They had the Thunder to back to back. That's like hell. It's hell on earth. Then they got the Nuggets. Then they got the Lakers, and then the Clippers. Damn, they got a very tough stretch, and they gotta get it going. They got out of the break with a big time win against 76ers. They picked up Jeremy Sochan, a power forward that really failed in San Antonio. Was a big pick in San Antonio. Thought he was going to do something, but really failed. Found his face, and as I talked about earlier, just the suspensions, man. They lose 17 points per game, 10 rebounds a game from Jalen Duren. Yeah, they lost that. They lost at All-Star, so the Knicks should be in control to win this game. They definitely should be able to win this game. They get a break there with Durant out. They should be able to take care of business tonight. OG, I know, had to get his toe like completely removed, not toenail completely removed. That stuff hurts. Yeah, you still got McBride out for the whole entire season, which sucks. But yeah, Knicks are in control. They got a very deep team. They bring in Sochan. Um, they got a very very deep squad. Um, I don't know. Sochan, Diawara, big debate. Do you want to play Diawara over Sochan? It's just that's me nerd talking right now, but you know that is a question for not now. But the Knicks have a very deep team, and they have enough to take care of this tough stretch, and we'll see tonight against the Pistons. Um, yeah, I think that the East. This is a big game in the East tonight, and if the Knicks can get it done, it'd be it'd be very good because the Knicks have taken a lot of beatings from the Pistons this year, and not like it doesn't really matter a lot, but they've taken beatings. You got to get some beatings back. Are you there? Yeah, I give some beatings back, and the Pistons are a very solid team. The Knicks are going to be battling with for a long time. So it's a big time game. On Amazon Prime, 7:30. See if the Knicks can get it done after the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean it's important. We talked about it, I think, last week. The importance of them playing well against Detroit after the first two times against them, just getting shellacked. So it would be nice for them to win tonight, play well tonight. Again, I just keep thinking about regular season basketball, like how much does it really matter? But in this moment, you got the game tonight at the Garden, like it'd be nice if the Knicks take care of business and get the W tonight. So you get just as a fan, feel good about that.
Yeah, you feel really good about that. Yeah, and then you got the Celtics still, running it in the Eastern Conference at the second seed in the East. Knicks for the third seed. We'll see if they can get that second seed here. I think that's all I have to talk about the Knicks and.
Well, how about to wrap the show? What did you think of the NBA All-Star game? Really, All-Star games. What did you think of that?
I didn't really. People ask me this. I didn't really get to watch it that much. I don't usually watch that. Damian Lillard did win the 3-point contest. Showed up to play the 3-point contest. But yeah, I mean that was cool. But dunk contest always sucks. But yeah, the All-Star game, the format sounded weird. But 4 games they played. They tried. I think that I heard that it was pretty competitive.
I don't know the last time I watched the NBA All-Star game, and I didn't watch any of the competitions, but I actually watched. This is probably going to shock you. I actually watched the entire All-Star games, and the reason I did is because my brother-in-law is a big NBA fan, and my nephew is really getting into sports. So because of my nephew, really, we watched those All-Star games. And I mean, he was really into it. Again, my brother-in-law loves the NBA. So I wound up watching the whole thing with them, and I was like, you know what, like that's kind of cool. Like I think they made it better. I mean, it's not, that I'd say, oh, now like NBA All-Star Game's great, and like it's just this really exciting event. I definitely wouldn't say that, but I think they improved on it. I mean, whatever. I don't think it's that big a deal. And again, like I would not have watched it at all if it weren't for my nephew and my brother-in-law. But I'll give the NBA credit. I think the format was pretty good. I think it was definitely better than what they were doing.
Yeah,
created some excitement. You had the USA versus the world. You had 3 teams. You had 2 USA teams. You had 1 world team. A round robin, and then the championship games. There were 4 games. The games were each 1 quarter.
So you wind up playing 4 12-minute quarters overall. But yeah, I think it was better what they're doing. So like, why not? Not that big a deal, in my opinion, but I think it was better.
Yeah, that's the expectation around the world. Around the people I was talking about, or around like social media, was that it was better. The world team, they looked like they really cared, and especially Wembanyama, he looked like he really
It seemed
gave.
like the guys cared more than they did. I think they were more. There was still, lackadaisical defense, but then they would step it up. When it's crunch time. And again, like you had 4 short games. So it did add to the drama or the intrigue of it. Instead of one game of 4 quarters, and they're just going through the motions, and then if the game is close, late in the game, they maybe start playing. But here, one of the games went to overtime. Another one was a buzzer beater. The championship was a blowout. The championship was the 2 USA teams, and the younger USA team beat the older USA team. So that was cool too, like younger versus older with the American players. The other game I think was somewhat competitive.
All other games were,
So again, you had two really close games. You had one I think was somewhat competitive, and then the championship was a blowout. But again, like I think it was better than what they were doing. It wasn't anything like what hockey did with the Four Nations tournament. Those are different things. But I'm saying like hockey last year created something, came up with something that was dynamite. It was like, whoa, like this thing's awesome. And I don't think anybody was envisioning it being as great as it was. But you had USA versus Canada. You had 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the game. So that got everybody all riled up. And then, from there, the drama just built. And USA Canada played in the finals. They played twice. So like NHL just struck gold with the Four Nations tournament. So the NBA didn't do that, but hey, credit to the NBA. I think they improved on the All-Star game.
Yeah, and they improved, and that's the expectation I've heard is that they improved, and I don't think it. I don't think the thing that people are like expecting is to be like, oh, this amazing thing. Oh, now the All-Star game is back. Oh my good, like it doesn't need to be either very very bad or very 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 good. Like it can just be in the middle, and I think that's what the NBA has done, and I think that's an improvement. There wasn't a huge bar. Also, they kind of put the expectation on the ground. But you know what? They bring in a thing that was a little bit creative. Adam Silver got his creative genes, and he got something. And
yeah, I'll give the NBA credit on it. They came up with an idea that was better than what they were doing. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it was a grand slam, home run, something spectacular, but it was more interesting than what they were doing.
And that's
again, I wouldn't be watching if it weren't for my nephew, my brother-in-law, but I'm glad I watched it. It's for like my nephew. Like he was so into it, and 4-year-old kid, he's getting into sports. He's glued to sports now, which is so exciting. Which is nice. Like it brings, as an adult, like it brings you back, and it's like that excitement and energy, that passion, that curiosity that kids have. So like that was wonderful to watch. And that's a big thing too. Like these sports are primarily for kids. So for if younger people enjoy it,
and you also want to see the best players like this year playing, and you also want to be competitive. And if it is competitive in some way, that hooks you, man. You already win if you're Adam Silver by putting the best players in the league on the floor together. But you got to just make it competitive. That's all you got to do, and that will glue people.
It wasn't great competition, but it was better competition than they had in the All-Star game. So
yeah, that's enough to glue you because of the players that are playing, I think.
And you don't need a Four Nations type of thing. Like it'd be great to have something like that. But I think hockey has an advantage because like the hockey international competition, to me, it's bigger than the basketball international competition. Get Olympics, that people get into it, but I think with hockey, it's bigger. So hockey had this idea with the international competition, and it just was an absolute grand slam. So you actually had national teams competing against national teams. And, the NBA thing was USA versus the world, but I think that was the right idea. And again, hey, NBA did a good job with it.
Yeah.
You could tweak it a little bit, but I think it's something they should stick with, tweak, and it'll be a respectable all-star game for them.
Yeah, what people, the best thing they got out of it is people weren't bashing it. At least people weren't bashing it.
No, I mean, you I think had a lot of people. I mean, you're on social media. I'm not, but I think you had a lot of people said, "Hey, NBA did well with this."
Yeah, I mean, the expectations were very low, but like they did well.
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of Jacked Up Being Frank. And we talked about a lot. We'll talk about more as spring training comes up, and then we'll also talk about more of the NBA as games get going. Finally, it wasn't really a lot to talk about in the last week, other than the All-Star game which we talked about. So we'll get more to talk about as the games start getting going. Knicks start getting on this, in my opinion, a gauntlet. So we'll get that going, and that's it. We'll see you. And as college basketball gets going, we'll get Frank on it.
We'll get into college basketball probably next week.
Yeah.
And then more and more as March approaches. So it's an exciting time of year.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that, Jack. I mean, we got March Madness before that. You got the conference tournaments. You got the latter part of the regular season now. So there's a lot going on. So we'll probably get into it next week, and then more and more as we get into March, and then throughout that month, and on the road to the Final Four.
Okay. We'll see you.
See you.